Thank you. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the South East Nation, the Malacadee people of the Yuin River and the Lillaqwani people of the Far South. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. Tonight we have in attendance Councillor Thorpe, Deputy Mayor Thorpe, we have Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Robinson, Councillor Gibson, Councillor Burgess and Councillor Morzak. And would you like to introduce your staff, please?
Staff for tonight, we have General Counsel Matt Grimsey, Director of People and Corporate Patty Johnson, Director of Community and Place Lyle Ground, Director of Infrastructure and Assets Frank Chen, and our support staff, Assistant Manager of Innovation and Technology Callan Finch, and Executive Assistant Olga Bath.
Thank you. Apologies, we have no apologies tonight. No leave of absence. We have Councillor David O'Neill is absent. Do we have any declarations from councillors, please?
Yes, yeah, I have a interest in agenda item 17.006/24.
Okay, and I have a standing.
Well, I'd like to do a closed one here too.
Yes.
I also have a conflicting closed agenda item 19.059/24.
Thank you. And I have a standing declaration for enclosed as well. Thank you. 4.012/24. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council 30th of October 2024 as circulated be confirmed? Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Rozak. Do I have any councillors wish to make changes? Well, I'll put that motion and all those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors and the motion is carried. Do we have any legislative items tonight? Urgent matters? In 7 matters announcements, I just have one to make before I pass over to Councillor Burgess. I would like to make one as well. The Great Wheelie Bin Survey was launched at the Ewan Show. All households and businesses have started to receive their flyers in the mail out this week. Councillors today have received theirs to provide to the community that they're in. We encourage all community to complete this survey, as your input will help shape sustainability waste solutions for the Yuin Valley's future. In the next few weeks, staff will be attending the Signet Market on Sunday the 1st of December, the Jugbury Market on Sunday the 8th of December, community chats next Tuesday the 3rd of December in the Yuin Valley Hub in the main street, the Yuinville Shopping Centre on Tuesday the 10th from 9:30 till 12:30, and the Southgate Shopping Centre in Dover on Wednesday the 4th of December from 11 till 1. Staff will be at the coffee shop to drop in and have a chat. You can find out more information on our Have Your Say page on the council website. The current surveys completed as of today are 380. So that's good. And if any community or business have any questions, they can contact Council's Community Engagement Advisor or the Environment Project Officer on 62640300. 300. So it's really important that we get those surveys back. Thank you. Councillor Burgess.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Last week this year again, Geeston entered in the it's quite a mouthful. Keep Australia Beautiful, Tasmanian Sustainable Communities, Tidy Towns Awards. And Geeston was very successful this year. I've got a bit of show and tell. Geeston actually won the population category for between 500 and 1,500 people. Also, they won the State Heritage and Culture Award, and there was another 13 certificates of excellence won by different groups in the town. I won't run through them all, but I'll just give you the list of the categories. The 4 categories that we were winners in were heritage and culture, community health and wellbeing, environment and sustainability, also waste prevention and reduction. So congratulations go out to all the volunteers in the community of Geeston, and it's just a real recognition of all the work that's done down there. We've actually got a town full of volunteers, which they're everywhere, which is fantastic. So it was a great effort, and it continues to being displayed in the community, making Geeston the most caring, beautiful and resilient place to be.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Yes. And that was completed not by council, or not by, it was done by the community themselves. Yeah, so well done. Okay, public participation, 8.1.1, questions taken on notice. There was one question taken on notice from Michael Russell, and the response is on our website and is included in the minutes. Questions given on notice. There was no questions given on notice for tonight, but there was 2 questions without notice. One was from Jeffrey Swan regarding the Wombat Crossing in Cygnet, and the other was Jeff Abbott regarding the outstanding correspondence from council, and both those have received their reply and they're on our website. So now, welcome to public question time. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to ask a question? If so, if they'd like to come forward to the lectern and identify themselves, and we allow about 15 minutes, but we'll see how we go. Thank you.
I'm Shane Johnson, New Road, Franklin.
Thank you.
Forgive me, it's quite a lengthy introduction. Within the local provision schedule process, Directive 1 from the Tasmanian Planning Commission instructed the planning authority, i.e. council, to apply the zone to properties that met the zone purpose statements to the fullest extent. In the case of my property, though, council deferred any decision and left the zone the same. It didn't consider a change of zone. Does council consider that the rural zone for my property at 43 New Road, Franklin, meets the zone purpose statements to the fullest extent?
Okay. If I can pass that through to the director, do we need to take that?
We will have to take that on notice, given the specifics. We would need time to have a look at it and then come back to you.
Sure.
Okay.
I do have a supplementary question, which
Yep,
leads
that's
on.
fine.
And in June 2016, council staff recommended to the councillors then to not consider the zoning of my property under the interim scheme, but that the local provision schedule process would provide the mechanism. That was 3 mayors, 1 commissioner and 4 general managers ago. Council, as a planning authority in September last year, passed a motion that the urban growth boundary for Franklin be restricted to the 20-metre contour, which affects my property, and that the balance of lots, including my own affected by this change, be zoned rural living. This decision informed the Huon Valley Land Use Development Strategy, and this decision now sits in there, in that document. And this decision by council as a planning authority came after a study by SGS Economics, recommendations by council's Heritage Landscape Advisor, and community consultation. Why won't council undertake a scheme amendment to put the planning authority's decision of last year into force, i.e. rezone my property appropriately? I guess you'll be taking that on notice as well.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Do I have,
Jane,
yes, could I have?
thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're right. What's it, next one?
Thank you. Liz Smith from Signet. Yes, I noted on page 23 of the agenda that we have the Signet Township Structure Plan, which we're all looking forward to. The statement is, the council has initiated the Signet Structure Plan project, which aims at shaping the future of one of our most vibrant communities and to guide the future growth and development of the Signet Township. As part of the initial phase, key internal stakeholders will be engaged to provide input on opportunities, issues and constraints within the community. This collaboration will ensure that the project scope effectively addresses the needs and potential of Signet, focusing on specific precincts and areas that require attention. Updates on the project process will be shared as it develops. So that raised a couple of questions for me. There's a mention of internal stakeholders, and I wonder who this refers to, and also what the time frame is for the initial phase.
All right, thank you. I'll pass that through to the director.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks for the question. So the internal stakeholders are internal departments within council. So what we're doing is, obviously we have our land use and development strategy. There was a lot of engagement on that document, and that's given us key direction in terms of the actions we need to take in different areas. Now we're looking to then refine that, or get down to a finer scale, and obviously then action those. So that's what the structure plan is. What council usually does is we develop a scope that then we go out to advertise with potential contractors to ask them to quote on the project that we have. So that was the stage we're in now. We didn't want to develop that scope in isolation. I think there's a lot of knowledge we're drawing from the LUDs and from the engagement there, the community engagement, but there's also a lot of knowledge within the teams of council. So making sure that the scope is as comprehensive as possible in terms of those things mentioned in that update. We plan to advertise that request for quotation in the next week. It'll be open for 4 weeks because it is a significant project, so we want potential consultants or quoters to have enough time to put together a good proposal, and then we'll be looking to then kick off the project. And the intention is this is a project where the community obviously plays the critical role, so there will be a significant engagement about as we progress this project.
Thank you. I thought internal stakeholders might be also within the community as well as within the council, but it appears it's not that way.
Yeah, so from a community perspective, we use the LUDs engagement as our initial sort of springboard to inform the scope, then refine that with the internal stakeholders being the departments. And I appreciate your feedback. I think we need to improve on our plain English, I think. And then obviously then as we kick off, we'll have a consultant that can then facilitate that broader Signet community engagement.
Okay, and I have another question relating to planning on page 22, settlement boundary. That says council staff provided detailed feedback to the Strillis project team regarding the proposed settlement boundaries of major townships. The feedback was guided by principles and strategic directions outlined in the land use and development strategy, which makes sense. I wondered whether the feedback that was provided by staff to the Strillis project team might also be available to the community.
Okay.
I can't see why not. It's informed directly by the LUDs. I think we'd be happy to give that to make that open so people can see what we gave. It's literally directly whatever boundaries were in the land use and development strategy we're then feeding in, but just providing rationale, just sort of translating the LUDs into rationale that they could then digest.
Yep.
Notwithstanding, I'll just flag that this is the development of a draft that then will go out for engagement. So the Strillis team will then put that out to community engagement. So there'll be a number of opportunities for the community then to engage in those different stages. So this isn't us talking for the community. There's still opportunity for them to directly engage in the process.
Right, so, but just if that information is available, maybe on the website, then I think it gives the community more chance to think about it.
Certainly, I think that's great feedback, so yeah, we'll
Thank
take
you
that
very
on board.
much.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Jeff Abbott, 72 Main Street, Huonville. I was under the impression that I had to give my question first and then that I was able to discuss it tonight or further elaborate. Is that correct or not?
What normally happens is that you give a bit of a preamble to your question. And
I
then-
can still do that now?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Just a bit of a background. And now some of you may not know that there's a drain that runs from way up near Roberts through properties, which includes from Shield Street through to Bailey Marine, runs through the back of properties, in particular one ours. Over the years since we've been living there, my wife and I have cleaned our drain, except that just recently the drain has just become overgrown with just absolute yucky stuff in it. And I came here on the 11th of last month and left a message with the lady there, and she said, yes, I'll pass that on. I got an email the same day to say that that request had been forwarded to somebody within the council. On the 1st of the 11th, I responded that I've had no response, and as of yesterday, I still hadn't had a response. But that drain is just unbelievable. At the council, it is your drain. It needs to be cleaned. And the problem is that when you clean it out, you're just digging it deeper and deeper and you're creating bigger problems. I'm just wondering, number one, why you won't pipe it so that there is no open drain. Sorry, it's an open drain, not a closed drain. It's an open drain. And it's just, if it was your place, I'm sure that drain would have been done by now. But I'm just wondering, one, why I haven't had a response from somebody, right? And number two, what is happening with that drain? Because 12 months ago, I think it was November last year I was here, and it was put forward that it may be put into the budget for this year.
Okay.
Nothing further. So what is the council's plan for that drain? Is it just going to stay an open drain forever and ever, and we're going to have to put up with the smell, the openness, the health situations that come with it?
Okay, well, thank you for that. I pass it through. Pass it through to the director. For you.
Through your mayor. Yes, we got your request on the 11th of October, and our crew went out on the 6th of November and inspected the drain and determined the drain was functional as it should and did not require any work at that time. But I do apologize for not passing on the outcomes before you reached out again.
So what you're saying is that nothing's going to happen with the drain and you're not looking after it?
So council's responsibility is, yes, that open drain is part of the council's public stormwater system, and it's situated within a drainage easement recorded on your property. So it's essential to understand that council is only responsible for maintaining the free flow condition of the public system. And although some maintenance work may be done in the past in good faith, but it's council's responsibility to look after the function of the drainage system, and it's your responsibility to ensure the safety and upkeep of your property.
Right, so what you're saying is that you're not even going to clean the drain?
We don't believe the drain is not functional at this point in time.
Obviously, you
Okay.
don't live near the drain.
Okay, sorry about that here, Mr Abbott, but
We'll come back to you with some further information, Mr Abbott. There's a number of people who are your neighbours that have had various correspondence over the years with this drain, and I myself and the team certainly understand that it's not great having an open drain in your backyard, as has been explained to some of your neighbours that have requested attention to it. It is a significant engineering issue to pipe that, and it may never be piped. And we've provided to people that there has been budget allocated to study to study the situation. It has not been acted on yet. There's a whole bunch of works that are going on in that area. The new link road, etc. Our main drain system that was completed not long ago. So there's been post-implementation studies done of that. There's a significant amount of work that needs to be done before we can determine what an engineering solution would look like through there, and it is it's a significant issue. As the directors pointed out, the fact remains it's been a long-standing open drain. It is there. It has a right to be there. Council cleans it out when it's necessary for us to do so. And on this occasion, we've inspected it, and as we've said, apologies that you hadn't received advice back that we had checked it, but we did check it and have determined that we don't need to clean it right now. But we will, and we do clean it when is necessary. So we have an ongoing inspection routine across all of our drainage network, and we clean according to the standards that we need to maintain. But we'll send you some more detail in a letter so that you're clear with what we can and may do into the future.
I'd like to know what part of the drain they looked at, because they certainly didn't come into the next door neighbour's property or our property to look at the drain, what it looks like, what is growing in our drain, and we have to look at every day that we go down to our backyard as we cross over the drain. But anyway, all I can say is that I just think that my time will be wasted trying to follow this further, because I think the council's going to say to me, it's going to stay as it is and we're just going to have to live with it.
We'll send you some information so you're at least informed with what we need to do about it, so that you are informed. And I could only reiterate what the director's already said, that our requirement is to maintain the flow of water, adequate flow of water. It's not about the amenity of a drain. So if there's overgrown reeds and things like that, that may not yet have been impeding the flow, and may not be yet triggering that's the decision that we've made from our team, that we don't need to get in there and maintain that at this point. So amenity is a different issue to the function of the drain.
Okay. So we'll have to look after the amenity, you look after the flow.
Yes,
Fine.
in simple terms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of public question time. 8.2, no deputations, no petitions to be tabled. Planning authority, no planning tonight. 11, general reports. Are there any councillors tabling their reports tonight? And would they like to speak to them?
Yes, Mayor, I'd
Yes.
like to briefly speak, if I can, when I get a chance.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Yes.
Mayor, and this, I'm cheating a little bit, this is a November event, but it'll be lost by then. I just want to make a comment about the Huon show, and what a great show. Most of you know I was on that committee for a while, but I'd really like to acknowledge the council staff who are involved in that show, and maybe we don't acknowledge the work they do enough. So, Sam and his team from Parks and Recreation, who really genuinely make it one of the best looking showgrounds in Tasmania, and I've been to a lot of them, and it's certainly really, really well maintained, and also obviously the show committee does a fair bit of working bees and stuff. Something very close to my heart after waiting 15 years for them to get fixed. A huge call out to Jared and the infrastructure team for the new toots. They are fabulous and much better than sliding around on the floor of that horrible thing that was there. Whoever wants that, let them have it, I say. I spent many years on the committee trying to get council involved in the show, and this has now come to pass. So great to see, and my apologies to any staff if I've missed them out here, but Michelle and Laura on the NRM stand, who were the bug count and stuff was a great engagement with the community. Jess, Bruce and Malcolm, both at the NRM and the recycling education stand. And as you mentioned, the bin survey was launched. Hannah, I think, was there with the emergency preparedness. Esther as well, floating around in a couple of stands. And Rong, who was over spruiking the Stralis event, had the pleasure of having across the way from him, so I got to talk about alpacas with him as well. But also, and I think all of those were there for work, but also an additional call out to the number of staff who volunteered. So Angela was floating around in the small farms and with CTAC. Sue with Home Industries is very involved there. Todd, who I think works on his RDO the day before to put out signs and stuff. Sandy, who pops up everywhere, but ran the official afternoon tea, so I've inducted her as a voluntary CWA member, which she hit me for. Of course, Lisa, who's a whole conductor of the whole hullabaloo as chair of the committee, and also yourself, Mayor, as school exhibits chief steward. So, an amazing contribution to the community from the council, and well done, everybody. Great day.
It was. And Esther spent majority of the day in the schools exhibition with me, yes, and does that through her working with the schools through her position.
I didn't get how many. I had a look through on the Friday, but I can't remember how many schools were there. But there was there was really good representation of the schools, and people don't realise that's a sort of 3-month lead up to get the schools to produce the art and to get the teachers on board and stuff. So
we had we had an email back from one of the art teachers to say that we don't give enough credit for what the smile and the self-worth the children get when they go in and see their artwork, whether they've got a certificate on it or not. Just being able to take someone up to show them.
Taking their parents and stuff, I've seen that. It's great.
Yeah. And so that, that is just a great thing. So
well done, everyone.
yeah, it was. Yes, Toby.
I just have one comment. I was able to attend the Tasmanian Community Achievement Awards last month, in which our NRM unit were finalists for an award for the plant nursery. So just wanted to say another big congratulations to the staff there that have done some pretty incredible work in being recognised at a state level for that work, but also to the Huon Valley PCYC and the Rotary Club of Huon Valley, who were also recognised there on the evening as well.
Thank you. Yes.
I'll also send email around a couple of reports on attending the Legat conference in Hobart. And last month's council meeting I was absent. I was at a Forestry Australia symposium in Ballarat that was related to my personal life. But it ended up having a few learnings that I felt were, and I discovered were potentially relevant to council. So I'll share some thoughts on that as well. Echo comments on the brilliant Huon show, and also note that Huon Valley Council and the Huon Valley has absolutely mastered the art of ordering the right weather situation for these events, not just at the Huon show, which supported an absolutely awesome turnout and experience for everyone who attended, but also the Dover Fun Run, not long before that, which this year held its first go at a half marathon, which is arguably an insane event when it's along the Esperance Coast Road around the mouth of the Huon River and into the D'Entrecasteaux Channel. So better than that big mountain they have in Hobart, I'm sure, and a little bit easier but still very undulating. So I think that event ended up selling out, being fully occupied for not only its traditional events, but that half marathon as well. And for a little regional community to support that and make that happen, took a lot of volunteers, absolutely brilliant weather, and was just an amazing experience.
I've done I gave the name, the record of time and the name and the numbers out on the day. And there was no more spaces to be had. And I think they've topped over $30,000 they're donating to the Children's Hospital in Hobart. So, yeah, so it wasn't only just a good day, it was a good day for, yes, that's right.
Yep,
Yeah.
it was absolutely amazing, and I'm just disappointed that I turned up. I tend to have a reputation for being late. I wasn't too late. I made it before the cut-off time, but I was the last person across the line. That's all right. Being last still means I wasn't sitting on the couch. So well done to the community for those events.
Thank you. Okay. No others? Thank you for that. 11.011/24. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes for the period 1 to 31 October 2024 be received and noted? Councillor Gibson and Councillor Armstrong. Do you wish to speak to any of those reports or
Any
minutes?
questions? I actually was interested, I had a similar question to Dr. Smith about the Cygnet Township plan, but I think that's been covered. With strategic planning, we've got 202 applications being assessed. I just wondered what our capacity was. Whether that's, I mean, it's just a figure, but and it's obviously hard to tell because different applications require different amounts of work. But would that be?
Do you mean, do we have enough?
Yeah, are we operating at full capacity to manage 202, or is that low or high? Or?
I can tell you that we are working close to capacity at the moment. We've had some resource constraints, so we've had some members of the team that are off. But at this stage, what we're actually looking to do is improve internal processes to help with those efficiencies. So the number of applications looks large, and it is large, and the team are working hard, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But we're also looking to work better, to basically be more efficient in some of our aspects. Some of that sits within our sphere of control, some of it sits with stakeholders, and we're looking to work with them to improve those processes. So at the moment, we're okay. But yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot of work.
A lot, yeah. Okay.
A lot happening, isn't it?
Which is good in a way.
Was that,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
that's
I have.
all.
Thanks.
any other?
I have a quick question.
Yes?
We're still waiting for a response on the regional precinct partnerships plan. I'm just wondering if we've had any engagement with the federal MP's office around that process. Why?
So we have?
You go ask.
No, you can. Yep.
I was just going to quickly check my emails. I'll say broadly, yes, we've reached out and we've had confirmation that there will be a further announcement made on round one
Before the end of.
before the end of Christmas.
Yeah.
So we are crossing our fingers for that, and we're also working on Plan B, which is ultimately the strategic planning 5-year pipeline that councillors will be seeing shortly, which if we get more funding, we'll obviously be able to accelerate that and meet our ambition to get strategic planning on really moving. And if we don't get it, we'll have to just slow down, and that'll elongate that pathway. So just at the moment, cross your fingers. No reason, no answer on why it hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah, no, they didn't give us a reason, but.
And I did have another question about waste. I can't find where I noted it now, but basically I was wondering, there was a media release from the Mayor with regards to a significant amount of money being spent on solving contamination from recycling. So I'm wondering what actions we are looking to take to sort of educate the community to reduce that cost. Because there was quite a significant amount of media that went from that media release.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think performed quite well compared to a lot of councils' media, which sometimes is not exciting for everyone.
Well, waste is an important issue, but we were deliberate in talking about the impact it's making on people's hip pocket. when we are facing a cost of living crisis. And I think the frustrating thing about much of the contamination in our bins is avoidable, and it's therefore avoidable cost. And it really comes down to it's a shared responsibility. There are, at the end of the chain at Cleanaway in Derwent Park, there are people with real risk concerns who are actively sorting that kind of stuff and trying to salvage as much as they possibly can. But unfortunately, when it's contaminated, it's heading off to back to landfill. So there is ongoing waste education coming out of this council on tips and tricks, etc., to do the right thing, not just on recycling, but the other really important one is on your actual landfill, your general waste, which we know is still at somewhere around 50% full of organics. And that again comes back to our wheelie bin survey and what we're doing about waste generally and being informed by the public, because we do have a very distributed geography. We've got difficult access up into many properties where people choose to live, and the costs of taking trucks, both dollars as well as environmental costs of running trucks around, have been noted by many people in the community. There's certainly concerns that we hold as well. So looking to work out what the most cost-effective way to do that kind of stuff is. And the simple answer is that if people could take more of a self-responsibility, in this case, do home organic composting, it would give council the opportunity to reduce bin sizes and save people money. But we've got to do it together in partnership. So we'll be using things like that, like this survey, and continuing our waste education efforts to just show people what they can do to reduce waste themselves and help save themselves money. Because all we do in waste is pass through the costs that are received to us.
Yes, sorry, through you, Mayor, if I may. Just touching on that survey. We should just let people know that it is actually just a survey. We have not got anything in, solid terms of what will or won't happen. It's just a question we're asking. It's not, perceived that we are going to implement this, because there's been a lot of talk on social media about the fact that it's happening. It isn't happening. This is why we need everybody to fill out the survey. And that's right. If everyone takes more responsibility, if they can, then it will reduce everything in the long run. But also, can I just talk about the pool? Is this a good time to talk about the Huonville pool?
Sure.
Great day, 300 people. Nothing to do with the weather.
We continue to be blessed.
I think this is great. It'd be great if everybody wanted to support the pool that often, as much as they want to, whenever they want to. It's good that we opened it and we've got some extended hours. People have been asking for it and it's delivered. So that's lovely. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a comment and 3 questions. Just a comment on the quality of the report with the little pictures of the activities. I do actually like them because it really, like the road rebuilding and the substrate and stuff, it really does actually show me what you guys do, but hopefully it shows the community what's happening as well. So that's a significant uptick over the last 2 years in the quality of the report. So thank you for that. The 3 questions. The LPS was mentioned. We had an opportunity to do what's called a 35G report, I think it is, Matt, is that right? Which is our feedback to the TPC on issues like what they told us we could and couldn't do and stuff like that, which showed, delayed a number of things. Did we do a 35G report?
No, I don't believe that we did.
Right. So could we maybe revisit that? Because there was things like, the advice that we got that we couldn't split zone properties, and then the TPC spent most of their time split zoning properties. So there was some good, and I know the Commissioner asked us, or made a few comments regularly saying that, well, you can put that in your 35G report, you put that. So let's not lose the opportunity to improve the process, because it did, everybody shared a bit of blame for the pain, but I think the TPC should share some of that. So Lyle had a comment too.
Maybe I can just cover. The 35G is around issues that are outside of the consideration of a local provision schedule. So 35G, I participated in the Meander Valley 35G. It's where it's issues with the state planning provisions or something like that.
Yeah.
So you'll in the Meanders case, we had issues around the Natural Assets Code and how it was written in the SPPs. So that couldn't be considered in terms of the 35F because that's around the local provision schedule. The 35G is around those issues that are outside of that consideration. So the feedback component certainly is a valid one, and I think maybe we need to do something more formal. We've given informal feedback on the split zone is a very good example of that feedback, but I think something more formal is certainly warranted, and we'll look at that.
Yeah, things like definition of LCZ and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was a whole heap of stuff
Yeah.
that Commissioner Ramsey was keen to hear that, I think, because it just helps improve the process for everybody.
Some of that might be doubling down on what we already put into the SPP review.
Yeah.
Because we did it on exactly that issue, plus many more, which were around the state planning provision issues for a rural.
Could that be public, you think? Is that
It
confidential?
should be, but we
I
can
think
certainly
it is public.
republish
It went
it.
through,
Yeah.
it went through council.
Yeah. One of the biggest
One
of the biggest things we asked for in that SPP reviewed input was around how residential use was viewed in LCZ, in the landscape conservation zone. So we put forward that we thought it should be a permitted use in that zone, given what the guidelines say. So I'll certainly
Happy to pump that back up on our news side.
Yeah, I think it's
There's the interest in it. It's current.
it's come up again with Kingborough, obviously, and many of the issues that Kingborough are talking about are the same ones that we've dealt with. But also highly relevant to my second question, which is Australis, which again, just reading some of the stuff in there, and it was related to a question a bit. Again, a focus on big townships, and really, it is the tail. I know we're the tail wagging the dog in the southern region because there's only a couple of rural regional councils. But the workshop I went to really just wasn't as focused on that. So again, anything that we can push to remind them that there are a lot of people who live in rural landscapes in the south of the state, not just in Hobart, in Kingborough and places like that. And again, it's probably related actually. They're all three part A, B, C there. But the final is there's a few requests for quotations coming out at the moment. The township plans, rural living one, etc., etc. Is it worth us doing a bit of an information workshop on what the coherency of the purpose of those ones are, just so we can maybe feed back into not directing where they go, but at least so we get a bit of a chance to input that maybe what we'd like to see out of some of those consultancies, because I suspect we're going to spend a couple of $100,000 by the look of those things on consultancy, so it'd be good to have some feedback into that. Thank you. That was it, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other? Councillor Gibson, you've got? No? Okay, well, I'll put that forward. All those in favour? Motion, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. There is lots of great stuff in there, isn't there? All right. Up to, what's my bit? Yeah, councillor workshops. I'm struggling to, yep, here we go. No,
No, otherwise it's.
Yep, okay. Would you like to advise on the workshops being held, please?
Yes, I think they're pretty straightforward. I'll just leave them as stated for
Yep.
the 4 workshops that will run this time. Unless there's any questions on any of those.
Not a question really, but just a comment or a compliment more so to Lion Brown and his team. I really enjoyed the presentation of the livability framework. I think there is a lot of merit in there, and I think it's a great approach, always a great approach to listen to community and to find out how we can inform our actions and policies. And I think this seems an approach that's not just seeking exactly that, but it's overarching. It looks at everything at the same time and tries to kind of, provide us with an integrated idea of issues that we're looking at. Well done on the presentation. I'm really looking forward on how this can, work out for us and to the benefits of the community. So thanks for that.
Thank you. I'm sure the director will pass that through to his team and that. So thank you for that. Any other? No? On to councillor questions. There was no councillor questions taken on notice from October's council meeting. There was no questions given on notice for tonight. Is there any questions without notice?
I have two questions, Mayor.
Yes.
The first one is I'm just curious to see if there's any update on any of the commitments made to council in the recent state budget that has passed.
Yes. So on the community commitments that were made, the minor projects, this week we started getting through. They use the Smarty Grants portal. So I think we had about 3 or 4 of them have come through. No, 3 have come through that. Others have come through a different mechanism. So they're being rolled out. I understand the intention is to have all of them rolled out, so all of them passed the budget. They're all being rolled out before Christmas. So that's promising, and teams are working on those at the moment. And then, of course, our larger projects, the Grove intersection work. Some people have noticed State Growth have been poking around down there. There's been some surveying and bits and pieces, so they promised that they'd get a project manager and get working on that work, and it has started. We haven't yet seen the result of any of that, but the commitment made to us was that they would engage with council on what design solutions that they were going to do and give us the project. The program for both that intersection as well as the Huon Highway corridor study results, which is beyond the election, but I'll mention it now, which is the $40 million of federal funding spent to improve the whole corridor. So we would anticipate seeing that. Realistically, at this time of the year, it's probably going to be in the first quarter, but that's promising. The other one is I continue to work with the Department of Education on the childcare centre / CFLC. Obviously, that's a major project with a lot going on. Council, for our part, is progressing with detailed design of a childcare centre and working with the department and relevant stakeholders to keep moving that along.
And the second one, while we're talking about DSG, is if there's been an update on the corner in Ranelagh, Marguerite Street, Agnes Street, on that engagement that you were having with State Growth. So I asked a question a few months ago and you said we had started engagement. So now I'm following up on that.
Down at, yeah.
The footpath, isn't there a...
Well, we've got, is it in this meeting?
So
part of it is, so we've got in our enclosed today, part of our, there's the footpath tender that we'll be discussing relates to that corner. And we could probably talk about that area in general during that part of the meeting.
Is that it? Yep. Do we have any other? Yes?
At the footpath, will that meet up with the existing footpath? Will that be good?
Yep.
That'd be good. So that'll be on the side where the trees are? Yeah. The
Trees everywhere down here.
Yeah.
What's left?
Until you ask.
Doesn't have the footpath.
Yes,
On one side.
Yes.
This side doesn't have the footpath, so put footpath.
Yeah, that's right. So the big trees that were cut down, will there be the drive? The park. Thank you. The Ranelagh, the open space.
Village Green.
That's the one.
Yes.
We got there in the end. Will there be driveways into there? Or will it just be a footpath? Because
maintaining car access.
Yes.
Oh, okay, excellent. Because I've just noticed that there's always somebody parked in there, including me sometimes, having a coffee under the tree because it's a nice place to stop. Yeah. But on that, I'm still noticing the cars are driving through.
Yes.
I watched someone do it the other day.
Yeah.
So maybe when there's a footpath, maybe Could you not put a driveway at the end of that?
Yeah, that'll, yes, no, we won't be doing it there, but that may help. But there is some further works that we will do in that park. It's just a matter of planning it and programming it. There's a lot on
It's a really nice little space. There's lots of dog walkers and people walking, and it's quite serene if you're a bit flustered during the day.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I can still park under the tree.
Your first point about whether it's connecting infrastructure, that will remain a focus of this council, with your permission, but certainly we will be recommending that we continue to close infrastructure gaps.
Yeah.
Ranelagh's one example. There's examples in each of our towns. Cygnet's another one.
Yeah.
Walkability strategies identify these gaps, and it's aged infrastructure, and it relates to old subdivisions, etc. But closing those linkages is really important, and in my view more important than projecting more infrastructure out that isn't ultimately bringing you all the way back into a town.
I agree, because it's well used and it's a lovely space and it's nice to walk and close to town.
It's also very important for parking for the taste and the show.
Yeah.
So if we can maintain,
Yeah.
I know there's always risk around it trashing the site, but yeah, if we can think how we can get the best out of both of that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, is there any other questions? No? There's no notices of motion for tonight's meeting? No? Okay, well, we'll move on to 15.1, proposed schedule of ordinary council meetings, and we need to make an adjustment now.
Yes, through you, Mayor, just an amendment to the recommendation in paragraph B. It should be Wednesday 21 May, not Wednesday 22.
Thank you. Report number, so proposed schedule of ordinary meeting of council and annual general meeting dates for 2025. And it's report number 15.040/24. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Yes, councillor.
I'm going to move the motion with a change to what's in the recommendation, if that's okay, because the June meeting in 2025, the National General Assembly of Local Government will be held in the same week, so I'd propose that we change that to the 18th, should any council staff attend that in 2025.
Thank you. Do I now receive a seconder for that?
Yes.
Yes. Yep, councillor Jessup. That can become yep, that's the motion. Okay, do you wish to speak to that? Does anyone else wish to speak to those dates?
I need to ask what day that was again, please.
Wednesday the 18th.
June.
That was the last one in June. Yep.
And what's the clash with, Toby?
The National General Assembly of Local Government.
I've got different dates last year. Okay, do anyone else want to speak to that? No? You wish to close? No? Okay, put that forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. It's all council and the motion is carried. Thank you. .1 Finance Report. Report number 16.023/24. I refer the councillors to recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor Armstrong, and a seconder. Councillor Rozak. Do you wish to speak to this, Councillor Armstrong?
Just briefly, Mayor.
Yes.
Is it normal to still have this amount of rates outstanding? I've looked at last year's too, and it's about the same, but there's still a lot of outstanding rates. Or have I missed something and read that incorrectly, or does it just carry over, or are these people paying rates?
Well, I'll pass it through to the director so she can do it correctly. Yep.
They are slightly up from the previous year. We're monitoring that at the moment, but it's only a very, very slight increase outstanding from previous year. We're not seeing a huge trend, so at the moment it's just a watching brief.
It's about normal.
Yeah. We are concerned, obviously, at all times as to people being able to afford and payment. A lot of people are signing up for regular payment plans, and that's how they seem to be managing their rates account.
It is difficult, and we are constantly aware of the struggles of people, but it's also a fair degree of outstanding amount too. Yeah.
That's the amount, like we build everything right at the start of the year, and then we do the instalments. The instalments, I think, are due next week again. We do implore people to contact us should they have problems in paying, and we're more than happy to look at payment plans and things like that. So that's Tanya and Marie down in Administration Services. They're more than happy to help and have a conversation.
Who incidentally are getting lots of praise by the residents recently, like lots of happy customers after they've been speaking to those ladies downstairs. So that's nice to hear.
You'll pass that on.
Yeah, thank you.
A couple for me. We're just on that issue. We don't charge for instalments, do we? We don't add a service fee or anything like that. Good. I did notice that there's 3 years worth of outstanding debt, sort of quite low amounts, 40, 20, 40 sort of thing. Should we just be looking at clearing the books of those somehow, or is there any chance of recovery, I suppose, is probably the question.
Again, through you, Mayor, we're actually talking with General Counsel at the moment about any outstanding rates that are older than 3 years, because there are provisions in the Act to take those debts further. There are a myriad of reasons. Some of those are small and they do have payment plans, and they would have payment plans, and they're normally through TCS, our debt recovery people. But there are a list of ones that we're actually not getting any payment and there's no sign-up plan to, and they're the ones that we're discussing at the moment, what our next steps will be.
Through Mayor, if I can just add to that, rates are a charge applied to the property, so they're not something that are simply just written off by the council. So they may be something which may be carried over a period of time until it's sold. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And the other one there, I noticed in the capital works in progress, and I'm happy to take this on notice if you don't have it on hand, but the Kingfisher Beach road slip is still under investigation in the notes. Is that, I understand that's potentially a fairly large capital thing. I just wonder how we're progressing on that risk to us.
Through Mayor, yes, we're carrying out investigations. So it's a risk there, but we won't be able to quantify the risk until the preliminary ground modelling and the solution that's suggested by our consultant.
So we've got a consultant on board and they're working on it?
We have done for quite some time, so it's very frustrating. I'm a frequent person down at Southport, and it is bizarre to have a traffic light in the middle of, deep South Tasmania, the one traffic light in
They call it Lockie, I believe.
Oh, do they? Yeah, great. Yeah, a barrier to progress, Liam. So yeah, it is frustrating, but the whole time it's been under monitoring. So to inform that geotechnical survey and design, because ultimately, yes, what will happen there is going to be potentially a very expensive exercise, and we'll have to make some pretty significant decisions. And we need to base that on some very good engineering advice, and it is difficult to get an engineer to say, yes, that is what you should do, unless they've got quite a lot of data backing them. So that's where we're up to.
We did have a traffic light on Esperance Coast Road for near on 2 years. So we survived. So yes.
While we're on this subject, can I just ask about the Wattle Grove?
I was just going to say
road
that.
as well, because I was about to ask that. So,
Do you have an answer for that one?
That's probably in the same trench.
I guess
we finally got a consultant who is willing to investigate and provide us with solutions, and we use Kingfisher Beach as a kind of test case. One is to test whether there's any practical solutions, also test the performance of the consultant before giving them all the jobs.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yes.
I mean, can I just add one thing? I mean, you highlighted some of the photos that we're sharing, and we've shared photos on Seventh Day Road this month, and the the underlying structure of that road is evidence to, we've said it before around here, I've said it when I was Director of Infrastructure, many of our roads were never constructed. They were cut in with a grader and then they were sealed over. So it's the quality of the blacktop that you see, that the public sees, is often just a reflection of the underlying what lies beneath. And in many cases, it's just like that. You open it up, and it is a soggy clay mess that's never been constructed.
They're not Roman roads, are they?
They are not Roman roads, no. So that leaves us with, some pretty significant issues. And then when you take a road like that and then have to construct it to modern standards in the locations where they are, we are talking really significant investment, and unfortunately it means really significant design advice and what feels like very frustrating time delays. So we do what we can to put in. Our priority is making the road safe and trafficable, and sometimes that does mean that people need to wait while the other cars pass. The alternative is to spend millions without assurance that those millions will stand the test of time, which we're not prepared to do, and we don't have the capital funds to do.
With climate change exacerbating the situation.
With everything, but yeah, climate change is another rider over the top of it. So yeah.
Listen, Mayor says apart from peak hour, I'm sure people can deal with the traffic light.
Yes, Councillor, you was next.
I want to circle back to rates because to me that 2% plus difference in outstanding rates between this year and last year did seem significant in that sample size. And you mentioned payment plans. Do they happen before the amount is due, or is that likely to be a significant part of the explanation behind the additional 2%?
For you, Mayor. Yeah. Some of the 2% is also timing, because it depends on when we actually get the rates notices out and people then pay on that as well, as the difference from one to the other, and they can be slightly different between year by year. And the payment plans, they're not encapsulated, only that we know that people are paying them off regularly, so there will be an increase of those. So it means that some that may have paid last year earlier on instalment may be paying later on a plan.
Yeah.
That's what you said, yes.
I suppose, Mayor, we didn't track the number of payment plans last year versus this year. It's too hard to find.
It's the timing of them. The timing changes depending on the negotiation with the rate of payer. So they might, last year they might pay every month. This year they might pay every 2 months, and it might be a different amount. So it changes depending on what they can afford and what they're able to pay and all those sort of things. But the information that I'm being given from our rates team is that it's not a significant big difference from one year to next, but we are keeping a watching brief on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have any other? Councillor Armstrong, do you wish to?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Yes, sorry.
No,
Sorry about that. I didn't see your hand, Andrew.
that's all right. Thanks, Mayor. Oh, it's gone. It's about the investment summary. I brought this up before that, and if I was an accountant, yes, I wouldn't put any money in Bendigo, but Bendigo actually puts so much profit back into our community, part of the percentage of whatever their profit is. I don't know what it is anymore. And I'm just wondering, I would like to see, actually, if it was possible to calculate what we think that might be in a percentage, and if it brings Bendigo's interest rate back up to equivalent to, say, my state or someone like that, could we not then invest with them? It seems a pity not to be investing with a bank that puts hundreds of thousands of dollars back into our community.
I'll pass that through to the Director.
This is a tricky one because Bendigo Bank does put in a lot to the community, but there are various pieces of the community. It's not necessarily a broad ranging contribution back to the community. Whereas when we're getting better interest rates, we can then have that for everybody in the community, all of our ratepayers in the community. We also have quite a good relationship as well, and some of the other financial institutions do things in the community as well. And so we do actually invest to a degree just because they are with the community, but we are mindful that at the end of the day, we've got Bendigo who invests certain amounts to the community, but in specific areas versus us getting a better return, which it can be, 2.2, 0.3 percentage points, which can be quite a significant amount of money that then we can use to be able to either, cover costs in the council or, not that amount's going to reduce rates, but, be able to have it for all ratepayers. But I'm happy to try and deliver some form of calculation to the council in relation to that.
Happy with that? Yep. Yes.
Sorry, Mayor, I actually did have a question. I forgot I wrote it down, and I've just reminded myself about it. Franklin Foreshore development. What's going on with that? That's been going for a long time, hasn't it? I did see this last, and I thought, I'll just pop a little wee question in about that one.
Okay, we'll pass that one through, will we? Or?
It hasn't started yet, or it has started yet, or what phase are we up to, or where's it going? Why do we have money? All of the above.
I'm as confused as you about that one, so I'll pass it over to the Director of Infrastructure. Is that right, Frank?
Sorry, Frank.
Yes, there's a number of projects carried forward from the past years in relation to Franklin Foreshore, and we are in the process of reviewing all the projects and their feasibility as well. So my understanding is the project was initiated at that point in time reflecting the needs of the community, and some of the needs or desire may evolve over the years. And I don't, personally, I was informed that those projects may not be value for money or should be continually pursued by council. And I'm in the middle of reviewing those projects and like to take back to council to report on the progress and the future status of those projects, that many of them potentially had better to actually have them removed from our project list, stop carrying forward for years, and when the opportunity comes or there's structural plans or master plan developed for the area, then any specific project can put back on the list again.
Thank you, Frank, because it has been going on for a very long time and there's so many back and forwards and... Yes, thank you.
All right.
That's all, thank you.
If we have no other, I'll put that motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all. The motion is carried. Report number 16.024/24, status report, quarterly outstanding rates notice. I refer the council to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion, please? Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Rosette. Do you wish to speak to this one, Councillor Armstrong? Do I have any other councillors wish to speak to this one? No, I think we've discussed it, yes.
I did have a question, but I'm just trying to read my own writing.
Sorry, I can't help you with that, Councillor Hewson.
It was about to point 18.
Yeah.
And I've written, what is the TCS methodology and what is the cost to Huon Valley Council?
Can I pass that one through to? Yes.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm just trying to understand your question. So
Well,
the actual percentage that
At a
we
certain
pay TCS?
point, we pass on recovery to TCS.
Yes.
And I just wondered what their methodology is as opposed to what we do, and what the cost to council is of that.
Yep. They physically contact the ratepayers. They follow up with notices, and they also do lots more phone calls, so follow up of all those that are outstanding. There's also a process around then looking at legal action that occurs as well, that they all handle on our behalf. So that's the process that they go through, and we've been using that since we've engaged with them. So it's the time aspect. It means that we do not have to have a debt recovery person on staff. So they're able to follow all of those up
Because
for
they
us.
cover lots of different people.
That's right.
Whereas we would have to have a staff member
We would.
for that, and there's not enough work for that. Thank you. That's
We have undertaken a comparison as to the
yeah,
cost.
pros and cons.
And it's more cost effective
Yeah.
to use TCS at this stage, because we did get asked, I think,
Yeah,
this
this
time.
has been talked about before, yeah. I guess I'd still like people to be treated kindly in the process, I guess that's part of my question. And I'm not quite sure what, when people are struggling with things, it's, you don't want to send in people who are too heavy-handed.
No, well, we've already gone through quite a substantial process ourselves. So that's where we've tried to organise payment plans with these people and tried to contact them ourselves before we then move them on to TCS. So there is a
And I'm
process.
sure we warn them before we do it.
We do.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong, you? No? Okay. Well, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. We're on to, thanks, Dom. Thank you. 16.3, waste fee amendment, report number 16.025/24. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Yes, Councillor Rozak and Councillor Jessup. Do you wish to speak to this one?
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you, Mayor. Look, I think it greatly simplifies the fee structure for all waste transfer stations. So I think that makes great sense. I, in particular, appreciate the fridge and air conditioner kind of unit price going down, which now that we've got somebody in-house who can degas them, that certainly provides a valuable service to the community at a cheaper price. So, and it will stop all this white good dumping or fridge dumping in the wild, hopefully.
right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, great improvements, I think, and the prices seem all justified and fair. So, good work on that one. Thank you.
Do I have any other? Yes?
Mayor, yes, I did a visit out to the centre a little while ago, and I was chatting to the staff member who had been trained up to do that, and he was very pleased with the fact that he could effectively add that community service to us for nothing really, just as part of his work. I had a question though. So what I think we're doing, so we're basically moving everything at Southbridge to weight. So we're getting rid of the set fee and then keeping the set fees at the other end.
And bringing down the minimum value
Yep.
to $5 from 15. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And then at other sites is half the course, same deal. Yep.
Okay.
So, and in part, I mean, where we are using the weighbridge, as we previously said, it gives us an incredible amount of data that will be used as we into next year's. We'll continue to do it. This is the first tranche of our ability to change our waste fees. It has the potential to fundamentally change the structure of waste charges because we'll learn from that data. We know the weights of our curbside collection, for example, where those trucks are coming from, so we can really get the balance understood. So we'll continue to do that. The team are always doing it, and this is a reflection of, as we've said before, we pass through the real cost. So if we are able to drive a saving through something we're doing, we will pass it on, which is what we're doing here.
We found at Southbridge, since the weighbridge has gone in, has there been more people sorting their own waste and throwing it in the bins as they drive in, the recyclables, or?
Don't know. We wouldn't be in a position to adequately answer that, I wouldn't think.
Because I still see a lot of recyclables just
And there still is.
Take over Weybridge, I
There
just
still
can't
is,
understand.
and we certainly, and again, as part of as we continue to optimise down there, we've spoken with the team around, could we have staff and volunteers that are actually in that pre-sorting area, furthering that encouragement to take, get your trailer stacked right, so you can put the things that you can get rid of for free, have them easily accessible, offload them and get some staff assistance to do that. Obviously, that comes at a cost to us, and that's got to come from somewhere. But if we can get that balance right, and ultimately save people, it's about that dual responsibility I was talking about before. There is the staff down there really care about waste, and it genuinely breaks their heart when they see people not only tipping stuff that could be recycled, but also paying for it.
Well, just aluminium cans and stuff like that. It's the easiest thing to recycle.
Very easy.
Going straight in the rubbish.
Yeah, and a lot of these things that come before us are initiatives that they're thinking all the time, the ways that they can do things better down there and to make it cheaper for people to bring their waste in. So, yeah, they're doing a good job. Yes?
Oh, so sorry, just on that, I was just sort of listening to all of this, and because my brain just thinks of things as we go, could we do a bit of a campaign that doesn't cost any money, but perhaps with a, I know you cringe, I know, a free campaign, but not one that's going to cost a lot of money, like the screen, what are they called? Billboards, electronic billboards. TVs, no. Just near the entrance, reminding people to recycle first.
Yeah.
Just where they're driving. Could we do that? Have we done that? Is that just simple?
We want to do signage at the front. And
Because then it's retrain the brain.
We want to do permanent signage and get some support for people to do it, some hands-on, educate people while they're there on what's possible.
So in the meantime, could we just remind them with a little...
Well, potentially, Frank loves billboards, so he might be able to...
Frank's not going to love me by the end of the night, though, is he?
We'll look at putting our variable message board, because it's out doing other roadworks, but if there's an opportunity to go and park it there for a while, that could work.
King Burrows?
We could borrow one of them.
That's not sounding like a free campaign, but yeah, we
Ask nicely.
Yeah, we ultimately want to put some permanent signage in and really emphasise. But it is, I think the sign is one thing. It's literally the hands-on, the education and the support.
Well, that too, but it's just a really simple thing to just visually remind people, and you only need to do it once, because if it's good for the hip pocket, they're going to do it every time.
Well, the cheap and easy way to do it is to just to try using our variable message board, and then at the time when we do it would be to test whether we're seeing any behaviour change.
Because a lot of people don't know you can recycle. Sorry.
No.
Well, they think that recycling doesn't go into proper place.
Yeah.
The container deposit scheme next year is going to change. Is going to be a game changer.
I think also
Yes.
having signage that's not just about people driving into the waste transfer station, but also can see from the road. There's a lot of people that don't know you do have access to free recycling abandoned in their backyard. Yes. But if, they're burning cardboard boxes outside because they don't fit in their wheelie bins, they could see from the road that you can recycle for free at Southbridge and Wyatt.
Flashing lights.
Yes. I had a question too.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, I support this 100%, but especially making our waste more accessible for residents to pay for. But is there a financial burden that we have to carry by reducing these, or are these justified by the data?
Yeah, they're justified by the data. Yeah. We are literally, as I said, we charge what it costs us, and so we've derived savings, and we're passing that on.
So this is an example of better data being used to reduce the rate. That's great.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Councillor Burgess.
Last week at the Keep Australia Beautiful presentations, the town that won it was Launceston, by the way, and they won it on the back of their recycling and waste management. They actually had a wonderful presentation of their tip and their recycling, and basically what they do there, their whole reuse shop, whole recycling area is actually put out to tender, and I think at the moment it's the City Mission that runs it. They run it completely, And the first person they meet with, if anybody comes in the gate, they're met and greeted by a volunteer who then talks to the person, or they've got to go over there, and they get everything out of the trailer that can be recycled, and then they get to keep the profit of all the recycling. And I think last year it was $600,000. So there's a lot of money in recycling, but how much does it cost you to get that money? It was very interesting to see it.
Yeah, I'll be clear, recycling costs us money.
Yeah.
For this council, so we're very different to Launceston.
Yeah, what a different scale.
It's the transport that costs us. So there's some products we can get rid of for free, or we can get a slight income from that recycled product. That slight income is offsetting the cost. So be very clear, we pay for recycling. It comes at a cost to our rate base, and there's nothing that's going to change that, because ultimately waste is a logistics business. So it's part of the fact that we are, a remote area, and trucking costs is what gets us.
Well, even with their waste, I believe they've got their own hole in the ground as well. So
they do. Yep.
So that's totally different scenario, I know, but it was just an idea. At their scale, they can do it.
Yeah, at their scale they can, but ultimately our waste team have really engaged in this stuff and looking at other opportunities, and that sort of, Launceston, I'd almost call it a concierge, so we probably can't go to that extent, but certainly we're seeing that, having that manned recycling support is really useful, and so we're looking at how we can emulate that within our capacity, and not create more costs to the council, to ratepayers. Yep.
All the public returns, if you give us some of those lifesaver bins, we can, direct them down the road to the.
I'm sure they'll bring out a schedule for us.
I think we could do a rotation,
Great.
I think we can put this motion.
I think so, yes. Do I need to close? No, okay. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. I have been down there with Jerry before and helped people with their sorting of their
I
rubbish.
would seriously help.
I have done that. 17.1, Community Management Committee Annual General Meeting Nominations 2024, report number 17.006/24. I'll refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move? Councillor Gibson, and a seconder, Councillor Jessup. Councillor Gibson, do you wish to speak to this?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. First thing, I'd really thank you to all of these amazing people putting their hand up to do this great work, and I noticed in some of the reports they've actually put in the number of volunteer hours. I think it was the Southport one, which was pretty impressive, and I'm sure the other halls are the same, even if they haven't measured their hours.
Yeah.
So it's great. I did have two questions, one around people and one around money. I noticed the Craddock Park Committee representation is 75% Duggan, which is fantastic. It's great, but it made me think: are we bringing new people into the hall management?
If you're in an area, that's where you join and if you're in Craddock.
Oh, totally. No, I know. But I wondered whether the council has a mechanism to encourage diversity in these committees, to encourage new people to join and to sort of broaden the base, because there's always new people coming to the valley and it may feel a bit like a closed shop here and there, and I wondered whether there was something we could do there, because we want our halls to be open to new people and new ideas.
But I think that there's a lot of people in the Craddock area.
I'm not talking about
No, I know that, but I mean, no, I know. But in saying that though, I think that the halls get used a lot. So I suppose that's the way of seeing through their activities how much does get used by possibly other people other than the people that are on the committee.
I just add, this is something that we are dare I bring it up, but contemplating through the hall review.
I was hoping so.
Yeah, so we're aware of it, and I think that everything's in balance, and it is around the having a refresh rate to bring committee members through is important, but it's also you've got to recognise that volunteering, getting people to volunteer is actually getting harder and harder.
Yes.
So you've just got to have that
Again, the refresh
balance.
rate can be very positive there though, because it does bring.
Oh, absolutely. So it's encouraging that refreshing, but also to have a fail-safe sort of mechanism. So we've contemplated it, and it's one of the many things in that
We're all just waiting for.
Yeah, well, yeah. Me too.
Yeah, the other one was around money, and it actually came from thinking about the Cygnet Town Hall and wondering where its bank balance is. Because it's been let for decades, and because we don't have a committee there, there's no bank balance. And then I noticed that Glen Huon, despite having a very sizable $21,000 bank balance, was getting a heat pump supplied by Huon Valley Council to replace it. And I know that Cygnet has been asking for a heat pump for decades, and we don't have a bank balance, so...
Was that done through a grant through?
I don't know. I'm not picking on Glen Huon at all, but it's just the sort of the methodology again and then most of the bank balances are around $5,000 to $20,000, and then you've got the Palais with $92,000, which again sort of surprised me. Like, I don't know quite how it's possible to get the bank balance that high, but
From the campus.
for the campus, yeah, that's right. And whether that's
And also
equitable and
it's run a lot of events. They had a.
well, so is Cygnet Town Hall.
Yeah, sure. We'll have to take it on notice on where the bank balance and where it's up to for Cygnet Town Hall, but we'll comment on Glen Huon, and so many of the small halls. There has been in recent times a heat pump upgrade program, effectively, where they are all needing that. The heating and cooling requirements of those halls compared to putting a heat pump onto Cygnet Town Hall.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, it's just.
But I mean, the amount of money we're spending in heating the hall by those terrible heaters, which don't even actually heat the hall, is also to be taken into account.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we need to have a look at, after the halls review comes, we need to look at what to do.
Yep.
Get that. So yeah, they were my only comments and questions, I guess.
Any other from? Yes?
It is difficult too. I'm not sure how you encourage community to be. I mean, I know at Pelverada we've done a little bit of a investigation, I suppose. I can't remember the word because I'm tired, but there's only 2 people extra now than what there was like 5 years ago. So how do you recruit? We're trying really hard, but it's a small hall and it really doesn't have a huge bank balance. It's very minimal, but we do have heaters. We've got heaters, but it's really difficult, isn't it? Like in different areas where once upon a time they were family orientated. And, they are Duggans, and there's lots of Duggans, and they're different Duggans. But I know what you're saying, but it's because it's just that area, like when the areas are dying out, so to speak, it's hard to sustain but it would be good to somehow try and get halls interacting with each other. That was my thought process.
Well, I think from the halls, once the halls review is done, that'll be something that
you could get them together and sort of, have, I don't know.
Is it too much to ask for an approximate date for the review? Or a workshop.
Yeah, no, we've already said
Got a workshop.
we'll be having a workshop. It's what do we say? January.
Early February.
Was it early Feb we talked about?
Early Feb.
Oh, we just looked at this the other day, but it's literally in that first tranche. Yeah, sorry, it's the early Feb one. Yeah, because January was too soon. So it's the first one in Feb. So yeah, it's a significant bit of work.
And it's got to be. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do I have any other? No? Okay. Councillor Gibson, do you wish to?
No, thank you, Mayor. That's all.
So I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
There was one change. Sorry.
Ah.
No, I just remembered that there's one place where I think in Southport, Andrew Hogarth is both a committee member and an assistant treasurer. Very minor point, but there's a duplication there. I don't think it matters.
It might be both.
Well, it's not consistent with all of the other.
Which one was that?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, I see. Andrew Hogarth.
We wanted to just tidy that up. So,
He doesn't have to be in the committee members when he's already on the thing.
he's already
Yeah.
in.
All right, thank you.
If we're getting fussy, Surges Bay Hall has Katie Bruton rather than Katie Burton,
Oh, yes.
committee member.
Katie,
Bruton.
Should be Burton.
No, it is.
Oh, is Burton, should be Burton.
oh, just the R and the, yep, right. All right. Well, if that's the case then, can I put the motion? All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors in the room. Thank you. The motion is carried. All right. Thank you.
Well, that was an entrance.
Slamming
Did
the
you
door.
want a song or something? Like, welcome back.
Send a secret text message to Matt to let him in and then close the door behind him.
Okay, we're up to report number 17.007/24, the Mary Street Wombat Crossing, approval to fund additional costs. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion, please? Councillor Gibson, and a seconder? Councillor Robertson. Do you wish to speak to this, Councillor Gibson?
The Wombat.
It's got a life of its own.
Wombat in the room. I went through all of the community consultation, and there's only 60 people being asked, so I'm not really sure if that's statistically significant out of 5,000. But I mean, I'm comfortable with it where it is, and I'm comfortable with spending a bit more money on it. So I guess I feel like the community may not have been consulted enough, and there's this long history of the community wanting the back road, and I know, like, you've spoken to various members about that and explained it, but does the community as a whole understand that that can't happen because it's, you know, millions of dollars, and that this is a sort of an alternative to that? Or
They're two separate issues. So the Wombat Crossing, 57 people responded, 57 people were asked. So yes, it is a low number, and we encourage, and that's why we've encouraged here tonight, and we'll continue to push out the wheelie bin survey. We can only ask, but we provided 4 weeks, and we encourage that participation. We're obviously not only informed by that either. The purpose of a survey like that is really to in support of a grant application. So on this occasion, we used the Vulnerable Road Users grant process, which felt that was a valid, and typically you don't get huge responses to things like this, so it's not that unusual. You're using it as a validation of a trend that you're seeing otherwise. So over many years, and many of you have, you're all community members, council is constantly getting requests and complaints for crossings in Cygnet, and the general and the community urgency for safety in Cygnet. Yes, a large response to Couch Around's safety was to build an entire new road to avoid that, which has some serious limitations in that, insufficient funds to actually deliver the objectives of that intent, and multiple millions of dollars of depreciating asset that we need to then fund that hits all ratepayers to not deliver on this promise because it could not divert large trucks and it wasn't going to make a big difference to actually the main street. So that's like I said, that's a separate issue, but we come back to Mary Street and making it a safer environment. Department of State Growth have worked with us and have accepted to reduce the speed limit on what is a highway. And they've also worked with us to provide advice on what in 2024, if you're installing a pedestrian crossing on a State Growth road, what that looks like. And that is a Wombat crossing, which for those playing along at home is a raised zebra crossing. So the recommendation tonight is to look at, we have provided costings of two alternatives. We didn't ask the community about alternative locations, etc., because ultimately the determination on location is an engineering piece of work. It's not something you can just ask the community to do. The engineering advice has been to have that location outside the town hall. And that is, our recommendation, and that is at the lower price point, largely because of different lighting, etc. But councillors can also, it's at your choice. If we don't value the crossing at that kind of level, you do have another option, which is just to not do it, which means that we return the funds and we look at other safety opportunities for Cygnet. The only other thing that I would say is that we have had to put this so that because we have based on a quotation, we have a funding shortfall. So we've had to put this to get approval to proceed with the project. We obviously will, and as I've responded to the community question on notice, we will go through, in fact we are currently getting quotations and will continue to get maximum value. We're not in the business of, we've talked about a zebra crossing. We're always looking for, the best outcome at the cheapest cost. The reality is that a job like this one, it's the one road through Cygnet. We're talking about night works, which has a significant cost on it. It needs to be done very quickly because there is no alternative road around it. There's multiple factors where this will be a more expensive job. And things like traffic management alone are in the tens of thousands for a job like this. So it looks like a big amount of money. We will be doing everything we can to sharpen the pencil, and we hope that we can get in for under that price. But that is a quote that's reliable. We're also we can also get quantity surveyor, independent pricing on this stuff. So what you're being asked to consider is there the long-term demand for safety to improve safety on Mary Street? Is that something we want to progress when the cost is, as we're seeing here tonight, and give us effectively the approval to spend up to one of those dollar amounts and do what we always do through a competitive process against our procurement process and policy to then try to maximise the value and minimise the cost. You're not locking in a tender result and an approved auction. Yeah.
Well, I think the safety on Cygnet Mary Street is a concern, and I support that.
Okay, do I have any other councillors? Yes, I'll go. Yep, start with Councillor Thorpe.
I have a few questions. The first question is, what is the timeline that we have to spend the grant money?
To March sometime next year.
Okay, and then so my next question is the survey here. In the report, it states that this is the survey and the consultation was not specific to a Wombat crossing, it was specific to speed reduction. I'm just wondering if Wombat crossing was used in that survey specifically, or if this is determined as safety crossing and we've changed that terminology.
We used crossing, so safe crossing, and a Wombat crossing is what the Department of State Growth will tolerate.
So through the consultation, the survey, it was not specified that it would be a Wombat crossing scenario. It would just be a safe crossing.
Correct.
That's right.
Because I wonder after there's been quite a lot of engagement on the Wombat crossing. So I wonder now, would there be more active consultation now people have actually a concept because there's a lot of conversation on social media. I know councillors that are out and about have had a lot of consultation. I think using responses regarding a Wombat crossing in Cygnet is probably not what's happened. Probably responses regarding a safety crossing in Cygnet is what happened. So I just had that comment to make. And yeah, so we have till March to spend that.
Just to that extent, we didn't specify a Wombat crossing at that point because there wasn't a project at that point. So what we were consulting on was safety, which is a crossing, and then, as I say, the engineering advice that comes after the validation of yes, the community are confirming they want this thing, then has resolved into a Wombat crossing is the type of opportunity that we can.
So if we do it,
Where it states in this report, it was found that 65% of respondents supported the installation of a Wombat crossing. We've done that survey, or is that survey originally?
That should be reworded to be 100% accurate. That should be supported a safe crossing in Cygnet. Delete the word of that. Yes.
but every time we do a safe crossing survey, it would have to be that wording. Because then it becomes
Like some of the issues that that people raise with me is why not a zebra crossing? So that's why I'm asking this. Is that we interpreted this as a Wombat crossing engagement, which is not actually what's happened.
Yeah.
So the residents that have raised this with me have asked those questions as well. But I just wanted to clarify that this wasn't specific to this scenario. It's specific to just a safe crossing.
Yeah. So wording was absolutely take your point. It shouldn't say Wombat crossing. It should just say crossing. Full stop. Just to address this, why can't it be a zebra crossing? We have consulted with the Department of State Growth.
I understand that.
And there isn't an alternative scenario where we can just go and paint white lines.
So they won't accept that with the flashing lights and white, like out here in Huonville, they won't accept that.
And I mean, I think was it the last council meeting where we talked about the zebra crossing that's in Huonville with the flashing lights, which is actually highly unsafe.
Yep.
Councillor Robinson's nodding her head.
Yep.
And where people do not. It actually makes it more unsafe because you think it's a safe crossing, and the majority of drivers are just going straight through. So this is why Australian design standards have moved on. And whilst we're talking about Cygnet, we've also had our local member down here just last week, and we've had a previous report to council some months ago around pedestrian safety in Huonville, and we're continuing that push as well around just safety generally.
Yeah.
And obviously the costings that we're seeing here are something that will inform what we do in Huonville and all our centres where we have where we require safety pieces.
Yeah.
But the important thing to note is that unfortunately there isn't, while it feels like, we could just there's a cheaper option, whatever else, we're exploring the most cost-effective way to meet the Australian design standards and to what the Department of State Growth will tolerate on their road, and that is not a zebra crossing.
I just wanted to clarify that consultation because I don't think it's not a large amount of consultation, which I know is not our fault and I'm not blaming anybody. But, so yeah, I'm very interested to see what the local councillors in Cygnet have to say because it's not my specialised town.
I know that. I know that when you're raising your eyebrows too about the one up the road, I know that the parents and friends at the high school and the primary school are going to ride in because of how unsafe that one is up there. Children just think they can cross because the lights are flashing, and it's only a matter of time. Yes. Yep.
The $5 million that we knew about when we first came to the council,
Yep.
has that been returned or something?
No, we're in discussions with Department of State Growth about what we can do with that.
I've got a $69,000 opportunity.
That's
So why aren't we going to them and saying, we've already committed $5 million?
Doesn't work
That's not how our grant deeds work,
No.
unfortunately, or
So we
fortunately.
are talking about converting that grant to a safety on Mary Street grant.
Correct.
This is a safety on Mary Street.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, look, we have, be rest assured,
We asked that question.
we have sat in the minister's office. Yep.
So we have asked the question, can we use part of that $5 million to augment the grossly underfunded grant that we've received? I don't know what we were asking for 44,000, but maybe it was a zebra without the crossing.
We were asking for this, and with the evidence that we had and our expectation, that is a marker of where our expectation was on what this type of thing would cost.
Okay, so we asked for too little, is what you're saying. But so can I be definitively told that we've been told we can't use any of that $5 million that's sitting there unexpended for this safety
We
activity?
have not asked that question. We have asked very similar questions,
Yep.
and I know the answer is no.
Unless we vote this down and then we make them.
Yeah, no, totally. So,
Well, we can't make them.
well, no. Absolutely an option is to return this grant, because we won't get that matter you're talking about settled before March. So your option would be you could vote this down, absolutely, and attempt to get it funded through that previous commitment.
We can get two for $250,000.
We could.
And you could not, but that's.
Well, it's a great example of when you have a brief that is in large part about safety on the street, and then it expands into, and it will do all this other stuff. And then instead of dealing with the safety component, you just say, we're building a new street. And so that's what the grant deed says. So that's why you can't build a new street. And that's why you can't start picking and going, actually, well, to deliver on the purpose, we could actually do da-da-da-da-da and have a better, a more useful outcome.
Ministers can change grant deeds.
Sorry?
Ministers can change grant deeds.
And that's who we're talking to. But we haven't had, like I said, we haven't asked that question on this, because this is at a micro scale versus the larger conversation we're having. And it's
I'm happy to
challenging.
confirm we haven't asked that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to ask if this was approved tonight, when would it happen? But I think I've worked out we'll try and push it through before the March date. So
Yes.
so probably
Yeah.
February next year.
Yeah, so we're in the capital works time of the year. So we're currently working through quotations and, as I said, sharpening the pencil on this thing to get it to a position where we'd be able to start construction straight away.
Look, I'm much happier having a wombat than a zebra. Cygnet needs a safe crossing on its street. I'm happy that this amount of dollars in addition to the original budgeted amount, I'm happy that that provides value for money with a safer crossing point on Mary Street in Cygnet. And in terms of clunk clunk as you drive over it, I do drive through Cygnet, I'm happy to wear that. Let's get it done.
And I think, like was explained, the request for quotes could come back for less than, And to clarify what I said also when you said, was that question asked, I also meant in general, Councillor Jessup, about diverting money into other projects that are in the area. And every time that meet that safety thing, so, yeah. Okay, yes, no. You go, Kim, yes.
I'm almost too afraid to speak because I've been quite verbal about this whole thing. I'm not adverse to the crossing idea. I'm not adverse to a wombat. What I'm adverse to is where you propose to put it. It's in the wrong spot. I will always say it's in the wrong spot. I know the engineers say that the infrastructure is there, and I get that. And I get that. I get that that's where it would be good to walk across from the bus stop, down those shady little back lanes to the back car park. It is not going to help people that can't walk that distance. It's right next to a school. What if a child runs across there because they think it's safe? We've got all this traffic entering and moving back. It's just the wrong spot to put it. The other thing is too, when you look at the pros and you look at the pros, you know, pedestrian link from large car parks on both. Here we got pedestrian link from Laguna Park to popular shops, IGA, Red Velvet Lounge. So when you look at where people are not being funded to put it, there's actually more pros than cons. There's not a lot of difference other than the fact that the engineers say that it should be down the bottom outside the main town, the heart of the main town. But my other thing is too, we can't have two because that's just wasting people's money. I would rather not have any than put one where it's proposed to be put, because I would much rather see one in the middle of town, connecting the green spaces, the toilets, the heart of the town, where there's disability parking, which enables people to get back and forward across to news agencies, little eateries, supermarkets, blah, blah, blah. Able-bodied people would still be able to walk up and across. I know it's about the lamp and the infrastructure. I've got that in the back of my mind. But if we had to have two, given that the speed limit is now 40 kilometres, it has caused a slowing of traffic, making it more difficult for people to get across the road. I would like to see one perhaps potentially located up near the post office where our council units are, where, up the top end of Mary Street, where our units are. Because there's school children that walk down there as well. There's elderly people that need to get to the post office. It's the widest part of the road. To me, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to put any sort of crossing on the outer boundary of a town where there's 40 k's next to a car park with no amenities around it at all. So that is just me being common sense, not being an engineer. And when you look at the arguments for, there's actually more arguments for in regard to usage of that crossing on option 2 than what there are is usage for that crossing outside the town hall, which basically just connects the car parks. So I'm against this.
And that's why we put an alternative costing for that other site. And so again, it's a value proposition. So if you at a $145,000 price tag, so you can move an amendment.
We also have the factor now of the reduced speed limit, which we didn't have when this. So now it is more difficult for people to get across the road because of the reduced speed limit.
Why does that make it harder?
Because the cars are going slower and they're closer together. Yes, I know it defies.
It seems safer to me.
Defies logic.
Yeah, but it's not though. Stand outside the post office and try and get across the road now.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah.
It does safer, but it's not so much more convenient.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm thinking of moving an amendment, and I just want to float the idea. I think actually having one at either end of the township would actually improve safety. I know it costs more, but I think it just makes that whole zone between where the two proposed crossings are just slower generally, and certainly on weekends it's just chaos across all of those. So I would propose an amendment that basically changes the motion to remove B and replace B with that the council write to the Minister for Roads, the Honourable Erica Betts, outlining the significant need for 2 safe crossings in Cygnet, as identified in the community consultation, asking that part of the, and I don't know the name of the grant here, so part of the $5 million Mary Street grant be diverted to the Safe Crossing project. I'll read up mail it to you. I'm floating it as an idea. Is it? Now I know timing's an issue there because by the time we write to them and get a response, does that mean we've lost the 44,000 anyway?
We could ask for an extension of time on that.
Wouldn't it be more logical just get this one out of the way and then talk about the other one next budget system?
Oh, the door is locked.
But which one? Are we talking about putting it down at where
The
the
one
town,
we're talking, the one we got the recommendation for.
the town hall? Well, you can vote for it if you want to, but I'm against it.
Yeah, well, I'm actually for it because I believe the major car park in Cygnet, 50% of the people that pull up there want to go to the other side of the road. Well, you can assume that 50% would want to go to the other side of the road. So it just seems illogical to put it anywhere else for now because that's where the major car park. How many cars does that car park hold? 40, 50? That's quite a reasonable car park.
A lot of people can't walk down to the street to the car park though, and they need to cross safely in the middle of town to get to toilets and parks and.
Well, they're not going to do that. You can still cross the road like they do normally, except it's going to be 40 kilometres an hour that people are driving past now, which is what you do normally anyway. If you're there on a weekend, you're lucky to do 40, you know. Yeah.
I think it's just for me that with the Red Velvet, you're not turning into a car park and you're not giving way to cars.
Red Velvet, I walked past the other day, there was 10 people. The restaurant across the road from the car park, there was 50.
Oh, but I'm not talking about the people in there, I'm talking about the traffic that crosses there, like pedestrians.
All right, so did you want to put,
I'm happy if anybody wants to float it.
no, do you want to put it forward and do you get us?
No, Lucas needs to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I understand this is a hot topic, and I guess depending on who you ask in Signet and where exactly you look in Signet, you will find always a good reason to have another one somewhere else. You know, you could say the same thing about at the bottom pub. This becomes more busy, and I believe there is some proposed development for the other side opposite of the pub, which will potentially bring some commercial and business, sites into this area of town. So this will get busier potentially in the future as well. There would be one there, as good as anywhere else up the road, at the town hall, at the Red Velvet, at the post office. We're just waiting for a problem there with some kid crossing. Anyway, regardless, I think that this is a point, like when you look at this proposed location, I think it's still a very good one for Signet, and I go with Andrew. It connects those two car parks. I understand there's a history, there's been a fatal accident, but the 40k speed limit now will slow cars down. I mean, you hardly can go 35 these days through there. So, by the time you arrive at the thing going 35, you've got time to observe if there's somebody about to cross the road, if there's somebody about to get out or into the car park from the other side, or if somebody's pulling in from you. So just the fact that it's already 40k's in this area slows everything down to an extent where I think safe crossing will be possible despite the fact that there is a turn in and turn off out of the car park, because it is already so slow down there. So I'm in favor of it, and I think the more money we can get, and I'm happy to I like Mark's idea with amending the motion and giving us maybe some potential of, look, this is a safety concern, and we actually, the more we talk about it, we've figured out we want at least 2, if not maybe 3. So if we've had 5 million promised, and if there is a way to redirect those funds or push for that, I'll be up for that as well. So, depending on which way we go, I support the motion as it is, but I also see merit in Mark's proposal to amend it.
Yeah, okay. We could include Mark's as a C.
Yes.
But Amy?
I think the way I understand Councillor Jessop's proposal is that it wouldn't approve the $69,000 from budget at the moment to put crossing number 1 on that street. And I do suspect that once you have crossing number 1, the way that will encourage pedestrian traffic across the road will be of great assistance to improving safety for many users. It's not about majorities or anything, but at the moment we have a community that bases its access in car transport. Hence the 2 big car parks being major sources of traffic, as well as the school, as well as the town hall when that's pumping, that's a really massive number of users. So that makes enough sense to me, and I think the need is urgent. I don't want someone else getting bumped by a car, and from that point of view, I think 69k from our budget is not a terrible ask to fix the problem promptly. So my fear with that proposal from Councillor Jessop is that it will kick the can further down the road and we won't get a crossing sooner. It could maybe be adapted into just addressing the need for a second crossing point, and it doesn't necessarily have to be specific about where that second crossing point is. But but I don't agree with it. I think we need a crossing. We've got enough expert advice on this one. So,
All right, back to you then, councillor Jessup.
I would still like to move the motion that we replace B with B, on the basis that if we get a reasonably speedy result from the minister, which we could ask for, we would still be able to revisit this 69,000 in December, January. My concern, if we say we're going to build one, I know exactly what the answer will be from the minister, would be my prediction. And I'm concerned that we've been talking about that $5 million for 2 years now, and I don't know if it's just going to evaporate anyway. So I'd rather be pushing that we use some of it and then move it on. Yeah.
Well,
So I'd put that motion that we replace B with B.
right, so do you have a, right, okay.
So, Mayor, the new B would read, Council write to the Minister for Roads, John Erica Betts, outlining...
Can I just amend that? It would be to the Minister for Infrastructure.
Yeah, Kerry Vincent.
Should we have a seconder before it's read?
No, we're just reading it out to for someone. Yeah, and then we'll
Please
second.
write to the right minister. That would be a good start.
Yep. Eric Betts is the local
And
member.
he's roads. He's member for roads.
Transport.
Oh, that's right. Anything on top of the roads, you told me that, is his. Anything under the roads.
All right,
is not.
let's move on, please.
Council writes to the Minister for Infrastructure, Kerry Vincent, outlining the significant need for 2 safe crossings in Cygnet as identified in the community consultation, asking that part of the 5 million Mary Street be diverted to the safe crossing project.
And Mary Street Grant, if you could replace it with whatever that proper name is.
Is there a seconder for councillor?
Was that just for the one or for both?
For both.
Right.
Can I,
2 safe crossings.
Could I just ask a question before we vote on that?
yeah, he needs a seconder first, I think.
I'll second it.
Right,
I might not,
So now-
but I'll second it.
yeah.
So that's very loose language though, isn't it? A second crossing, does that mean it could be 5 metres up the road from the first one or 5 metres down the road? Can you make that a little bit more?
Susan, not both options.
Well, both options as described in the paper.
Thank you.
The 2 safe crossing options as described in the paper in Cygnet.
Because
We've worked with Department of State Growth on both of those, so it's allowable, tolerable to put a crossing at both of those locations. So you can take them in red.
like the town hall
And outside Red Velvet.
no, don't do that. That I've already heard that would be the most humongous waste of money, taxpayers' money. We weren't consulted. We didn't know where it was going to go. Why would we want 2 crossings so close together? We need one up the other end near the post office, which is all common sense, really. But again, common sense does not marry up with infrastructure, I've discovered.
So then the next alternative is a traffic and motion study. Is that the right language? Pedestrian safety study.
But then it is 44,000 anyway.
Correct. So because there's, as Councillor Mrozek pointed out, you can make an argument for anywhere on any infinite number of points along that road. Would be the ideal location. So if you want to do, further, you're then trapped by, we have what I will say I believe is an urgent community need and has been for a long time, held up by doing some further work that will get really detailed empirical evidence that would tell us where you would put a crossing. Otherwise, we are in a perpetual loop of just saying, but I think it should be here, I think it should be there. We ultimately have a road it's got good sight lines. You can put a crossing pretty much anywhere along there, save for abutted up against street corners. So you would have to, you'd be going into the full hog and doing a pedestrian safety strategy, et cetera, which I will say is part of our township, all the township planning and strategic planning work, et cetera, that we're doing. And we've also done, we've got to finalise it and bring it to councillors, but we're looking at the car parks. We're looking at pedestrian accesses through Cygnet and other towns. We're quite well developed in that space to look at and accommodate growth and design and whatever else. And so we are trundling on with all this other design and planning work, but we also, it doesn't mean we can just stop. And the reality is, as we've shared before, there hasn't been a lot of design and planning work done for a very long time. So we're in a state where we're trying to respond to things. We're trying to give you qualified advice to the level at which we've invested in planning and, you know, intelligence and all the rest of it. And that's where we're at, and painting a picture of the future. I do think there is a risk of delaying this one further, and that a crossing in either of those locations makes a lot of sense. And ultimately it boils down to, as I said before, it's a value proposition. We can absolutely, like with Councillor Jessop's, or the motion we're now considering, we can do that. We would need to hustle and try to get it back for the December meeting, so that if we have, which is going to be very tight, if we don't have it back for then, you would basically say that we'll lose the $40,000. So that's what you're playing with effectively.
How many days have they?
Anything to add to that?
Tomorrow's the last day of sitting.
It doesn't need to go through one.
No, I know, but
The Minister
No, I
has
know.
far more staff than Council. I don't think there's any concern in putting pressure on the Minister to respond with a time frame, because they do the same to us in return. So I actually think it's quite a reasonable time frame for the Minister.
But do I make that a C, just so we've got the C up our sleeve, but we don't necessarily need to share that, that we've got the approval up our sleeve, but we can still ask for both of them from the Minister.
This is a public meeting, so we've shared it, Mark.
I think it should just come back on the 11th of December, should we have a ministerial response or not. But there's also, you can contact the Secretary of State Growth and those types of people that also do these government things.
Yep.
And provide advice up to
Or you could make it a C, we do that, and if we get a denial and we provide you that evidence of that, we revert to a C, which is to get on with it. But it's, you guys can.
I know Councillor Armstrong probably wouldn't like the C because he doesn't want two of them there, but.
Well, I've already, it's not that, it's ratepayers' money that we are spending. It is ridiculous to have two 50 metres apart. That's two speed
whole
humps.
street.
It's already 40
I have
Ks.
a question, if it's through your man to Sarah. What were you going to ask for the $5 million to be spent on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Improved parking, and improved, so basically, improved off-street parking so that we can remove some of the parking that's off the main street, to improve those sight lines, gain back some width on the main road, in just a few locations, so relatively modest, but to offset those parking losses, and then improve our off-street parking and improve the public transport accessibility as well, to start to bring down some of that.
So would you put a...
And how would that fit into that sort of budget? Is it realistic to fit these wombat crossings into the budget as well?
Yes.
Yes. So it is a good approach.
And if you took away some of that on-street parking, would you then replace that with a pedestrian island sort of thing in the middle of the road in a couple of places? Would that be the sort of logic you'd...
Yeah,
well, potentially, but that's the thing. It's the working through what's.
This is part of my problem with this. We don't know.
Yeah, correct. And again, it just comes back to we don't have a good. We haven't invested in these plans, and they all take time to develop. So it's. But you also can't wait for
Councillor
forever.
Armstrong was happy to make it a C. I'm happy to make it a C.
What's the chance of extending this $44,000 grant? Can we add a part D to ask for an extension of that?
We can always ask.
Is it a waste of time, in your opinion?
If we're doing something on it, it surely could be asked. We can evidence that we're not just...
We're not sitting on our hands, but there's a lot to sort out.
Because there's an annual program. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what's the chance of that.
If we do delay it, does that mean we miss the capital works program for this summer, and then it has to be delayed further till next summer?
Quite possibly, yeah.
So then we have that concern on safety, delaying that further by not having a crossing.
I think we need to proceed with the crossing.
Are you still happy to ask for the? I'm happy, Mayor, if Mr Grimsey can make that a C, I can move that as an amendment. I still think we should ask for that.
Yeah,
to-
no, I'm just thinking, yeah.
Look, I mean, it fits into the discussion we're currently having with DSG anyway about reallocating that, but it gives us some more, direction from council, so that's fine.
So what would C?
So B would remain the same as the motion that's been moved. C is council writes to the Minister for Infrastructure, Kerry Vincent, outlining the significant need for 2 safe crossings in Cygnet, as described in the council report and identified in the community consultation, asking that part of the $5 million Mary Street grant be diverted to the Safe Crossing project.
Or part of the $5 million grant be diverted.
Yeah, they're part of. It's
So what
in
was
there.
B?
Sorry, can I just confirm? I understood that what you just read as C would be B, and if we get a no on B, we revert to C, which is if we get a no, we just go with B and we get it done.
Get it?
Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
The current,
Wait a minute.
So we don't have to come back to another council meeting
Absolutely.
and delay
Absolutely.
further.
Yes.
the current wording of B already includes, while seeking funding from the Department of State Growth for a second wombat crossing outside
Yeah.
24 Mary Street. So it's already got the ask in it. You can tailor that ask to being from a specific grant.
And I'm asking for all of it from both.
Slightly.
So it's like,
Yeah, and that's the order of operations is the other part, is that we do that ask first, and if that ask is no, then we revert to,
then we say $70,000 plus we still ask for more.
yeah,
I think
I just, no.
Wait a minute. Just wait, yeah, just wait for a minute.
I think there's no harm in also doing a media release to say we are reaching out to him. So he's expecting it as well. And I think we also need to play the politics.
But we haven't asked Kerry Vincent yet, so why do we have to play politics?
We don't have to.
But it's also, we've got to update our community to be in the actions we're doing. Not everybody watches these meetings.
Yeah.
And it's been a very topical thing. So if we're saying here today we're going to reach out to the minister, we should also be confident to be able to share that with our residents and ratepayers. So he also knows that we're being accountable to the people we represent.
so a media release that would share what the resolution is and what we're doing next, yeah, no drama.
Do we have a drawing of the other proposals, the 5 million, and do these wombat crossings fit into that? I would just hate to build a wombat crossing and then realise that it doesn't fit in with what we want to actually do with the relocation of the parking and a traffic island. I think is a really good idea because the old people find 2 lanes very
Yeah, I don't
challenging.
think it wouldn't compromise
Okay,
that.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, can I just ask the
Oh, sorry.
director here for a minute, please? Have you got clear on your,
I believe I have. I'll read that back
yes,
in
please?
a moment to
Yep.
you.
I just wanted to, Director of Infrastructure has something to contribute.
In terms of say that if we don't get the response, because what I'm hearing is say, if we get a no, then we progress with our own money.
Right.
And there's a chance we may not get a response before the next council meeting, and time is not on our side.
The next council meeting is December the.
Absolutely.
So 14 days.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is that we would evidence that to the councillors, that we've asked the question and we give you the result. But if we get a response that is, no, this can't be done, you've got what you've got, then we take that without coming back to council. We've got it in this motion that we then get on with delivering C as read.
Well, I think C allows you to get on with it straight away.
It
It just depends where the money's coming from.
I'm just seeking that's your understanding of what it is, so
Yeah,
that
that's what I want.
we're not having to come back to another council meeting.
We'll get
thing
built
is,
one
if
way
we
or
don't
another.
get any
You can inform
response,
us.
Oh, if we get no response, sure.
Oh,
We would have to be.
Oh,
Well, we're still saying we're going to pay for it, but we're going to ask him for both. And it doesn't mean that both have to be done in this year anyway. The second one could be done next year as part of that 5 million, but at least we know it's going to happen. And then we can do some work on where it is.
I'd be pretty confident we will get a response.
Yes.
Good.
So I don't think that'll be a concern.
Well, the first one is going to be then.
Okay, so is it okay for everybody if we just take a breath?
Through you, Mayor, just to build in that into C, in the event of a negative or no response to paragraph B by 12 December 2024, Council redirect 69,221 from the approved financial year 24-25 budget to install the Wombat crossing outside the Cygnet Town Hall, while continuing to seek funding from the Department of State Growth for second Wombat crossing outside 24 Mary Street in the foreseeable future.
Can we leave the 24 Mary Street and say just a second Wombat crossing?
Yep.
And then it's sort of, then we can do consultation a bit more.
Well, not even a Wombat crossing, just a crossing, because it could be up near the post office and it could be a traffic, a little, yes.
The road is wider there, yeah.
I think your point is a good one about warning people that you're entering a pedestrian zone and marking that at that point.
So a second.
And that's where the 40 starts, isn't it?
Okay, so that was second, that,
That amendment was moved Councillor Jessup, second Councillor Armstrong.
But is she still
are you
second?
happy with the wording of the,
Taking that Mary Street.
24. I'm not voting for it, but I'm happy with the wording.
so you don't want to second the motion then? No, okay,
Somebody else
councillor.
can second it. I don't want it where it's
No.
going, so I can't.
No, you're a mover of the initial one, so,
Okay.
yeah, so councillor Burgess? All right,
Because I've heard the community backlash and I don't want any part of it when it goes pear-shaped.
right, so, okay,
I'm just checking that this proposed amendment that's on the table means that work will start towards implementing the town hall crossing straight away.
Yes.
okay. So, now that we know what that is, it was moved by councillor Jessup, seconded by councillor Burgess. I put that to the councillors. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that is councillor Robinson, Jessup, Thorpe, Doyle, Gibson, Burgess and Rozek, and against?
Sorry, people, but I've got to work with them all.
And are you,
No, I'm a no.
do you want to put your
Yep,
nose
I'm-
against? Put
Yep,
your hand up,
against.
put your, yep, there, I've got you now. Thank you. All right.
Not often I will be and stick my heels in, but this is just one of those occasions.
It becomes the motion? All those in favour? Do I have to get,
Same process.
I have to get someone to move it?
No.
No, just
Yeah.
put, vote, okay, okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's the same as, yep, I have to read them out. Robinson, Jessup, Thorpe, Doyle, Gibson, Burgess and Rozak, and against Armstrong.
Just little on me.
And the motion was carried.
I've got a two-third vote from Sydney.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
I just had my own concert.
My apologies for.
Report number 18.010/24, consent to develop outside the building envelope. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor Rozak and, councillor Burgess, second. Do you wish to speak to this one?
I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I think it's a minor part of the building that's outside the building envelope, so I think, that can be neglected as being outside the envelope. So I'm happy with it to go ahead. Thank you.
Do I have any other? Yes,
Technical
councillor Jessup?
question. So it looks like they're building a shed next to it. Does the shed need to be included in the building envelope as well, or just the house?
An ancillary dwelling.
So does that need to include it in the envelope or not?
Well, officially, yes.
So are we moving, is a dark line where we're moving the envelope to, or are we going to include the ancillary dwelling in the envelope?
Is it a granny flat?
Can I pass that through to the,
It's outside of the
It is outside.
So is that allowable then or not?
the consent is to allow for that to happen.
Oh, so the consent isn't to move the envelope to include the main dwelling, like that dark black line, they're
No,
basically
that's
saying
just a measuring
consent
line.
is to build outside, okay, cool, yep. Right, I understand that.
Right? Okay, do I have any other?
I have just a
Yes.
question. I guess this initial envelope was there for, well, I read that it was to protect foliage and the like. I don't know whether little area where the ancillary dwelling is particularly, are there big trees there, or it doesn't appear to be so. And because I can't see why the whole building couldn't have been in the envelope.
There was a reason given for that somewhere. I just can't find it at the moment.
I'll pass it through.
So when we look at these things and make a recommendation, we do look at the site, obviously the site condition and the features on that site. I know these properties very well. I've assessed a number of the applications that went through. I know this particular site, there isn't anything of significance, as was considered significant when the assessment was done at the time, which is a number of years ago. I think I previously mentioned it. These building envelopes were originally there to address certain acceptable solutions and performance criteria in the scheme at the time. Notwithstanding, we're going to be bringing, as you may be aware, we'll be bringing a recommendation around delegating some of these outside of building envelope decisions, just bring it down a level to the officer level, so that obviously they don't have to keep dealing with these, because there are a number of these that are coming through at the moment. Because if you look at the contour lines versus the building envelope orientation, you can see just practically around this particular site. That access point, you can see that road is then bending around, and then they've built along the contour line to limit their cut and fill, and that building envelope orientation doesn't really align with that. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Trees to be retained.
Okay. Yes, councillor, I'll come to you, councillor Robinson.
So we're not actually amending the building envelope through this. Is there risk that any future peripheral activities around the constructed building and ancillary dwelling still outside the building envelope are going to need additional permissions and so forth from the council system? And yes, we may have delegated that, but subtext to this, we've got to get smarter at building, at making administrative decisions and setups that are efficient to administer.
We've previously said this is an exemplar, never to be repeated, but it's what we've got at the moment, and there's others out there, and so hence the delegation, and that is, the director's provided some advice, and then we'll then put that into a paper, but it's around, it's where they're minor amendments, and there's strict criteria there, and that's what ultimately you're moving that delegation to, and we're on the 100% on the same page around being administratively more smarter to not repeat this kind of stuff for any future developments. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, no, I just totally agree, and yes, this is an example of how not to approach this type of Part 5 conditioning. So
We're not moving the building envelope.
no,
Should
this
we
is
then?
as per the Part 5. The Part 5 is specific that consent needs to be received from council should you wish to build outside of the building envelope. So we're not amending where the location of the building envelope, because that's a whole other thing. This is just consent to build outside of a building envelope.
All right.
Yeah, just a point of clarification on the threatened species or anything like that, that they would still, if there's threatened species there, they would still be subject to overlays and assessment anyway. So this isn't saying do what you want. This is just saying
They would still need to address those provisions within the relevant codes and zones related to native vegetation and priority vegetation.
which looks like a horrible block to build on from the slope. I feel very sorry for them.
All right, okay. Do we have any other? Do you wish to close?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I'll put that motion forward. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion is carried. Okay. 19.056/24. We're about to move into closed council, so we have no gallery, but those watching at home, thanks for attending. Council's AGM is on Wednesday, the 11th of December at 6 p.m, and the next ordinary meeting of council is on Thursday, the 12th of December at 6 p.m. The recommendation is that the meeting now be closed to the public at
8:23.
pursuant to Regulation 15 of the Meeting Procedures Regulations to discuss the following matters: confirmation of minutes, general reports, closed council, electrical contract and Ranelagh footpath and stormwater construction. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to go into closed? Councillor Jessup, Councillor Burgess. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. I advise that in accordance with the Huon Valley Council's audio recording of council meeting policy, recording of the open session of the meeting ceased at
8:24.